how did you become to being the president of the school?
So, there's a certain trajectory most of us take to go to wherever we are. I don't think I followed a routine one to a college presidency. My passion was nursing as a kid, so I actually started out practicing. I'd be out there giving those injections right now if my life had made a different turn. But doing that for a short period of time, I wanted to teach. So teaching got me involved with teaching nursing, then teaching, then administrating, then being a dean. Then I went kind of up the more routine, like I was a dean. Then I was everybody's assistant. I was an assistant vice president. I was an assistant for curriculum and instruction, institutional effectiveness, even administration. I even ran an HR office for a couple of years. So what happens, you wind up like a jack of all trades working in a college, and the only job I hadn't had yet was a presidency, but I trained at least 3 presidents in my last job. So I decided, well, heck, I can do this. So that's basically what happens. You become somebody's assistant, and then you finally figure you can maybe do this. So. Oh, and why Oregon? Because I was, number one, I was intrigued with Eugene, Oregon. I'd been out here on vacation a couple of times to visit family and really fell in love with the place. It's very, you see that background, that's where I grew up. So the background was like upstate New York, very, mountains, rivers, I love the climate, the temperateness, and Lane had the same level of challenge I was used to, multiple campuses. You have an urban campus, a suburban campus. In this case, we have a coastal campus, airport, etc. So it was good.
Is it Mr. Gerald, or is that how
Yeah, sure, that's totally fine. You can call me Paul, actually.
Okay, but how did you come to being here?
So not too unlike Marge, I taught biology at a community college in Southern California for 20 years or more. And I grew up in southeastern Ohio and eastern Kentucky, so in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. And life kind of brought me out west. A girl kind of took me to Southern California. But we started our family here in Eugene. My son was born in Eugene, my daughter born in Medford when I was in graduate school here at the U of O. I always thought I would stay in teaching in Southern California, but life kind of got me into administration. I had this similar role down in Southern California at a couple community colleges. And then both my kids, who are, in their late 20s, started their adult lives in Portland. And we just thought, well, let's try to get a little bit closer to family. Neither my wife or I have family out here, so we thought we would move to Oregon, try to move back to Oregon, and ended up at Lane. I'm very happy. My wife went to nursing school here in the late 80s. Obviously, I went to the U of O just over the hill, and that's what got me here. I can't imagine doing anything else. There's the satisfaction of working at a community college where you get to help students. I mean, the way I look at it is most of the students we're helping are breaking some kind of cycle that they're stuck in, whether that's a cycle of poverty or abuse or addiction or whatever. We're a way out for that and a way to the future for them. And I take great pride in being able to do that kind of work.
Okay. So my next question is for either one of you, which one you feel best. With the bond that was passed, what would be your main goal, or if in a perfect world, what would you do with the funds from this bond? Which I know is a hard question. Yeah.
Not really. Knowing you were asking that, I went back and I looked at the original. We put a lot, Chandler. You can, if you go on the website, you can actually still see for the bond what the goals were. And I kind of laughed when I reread it all for today, but I laughed to myself and I says, you know what the real goal was? Get it passed. That was the first goal, because there was not in a pig's eye did I think we were going to get this thing passed because of the pandemic. We were told, this is almost impossible but yet this county voted yes. I mean, I am indebted to this county for the voters for voting it for us. So the first thing was get it passed. The second goal is to be accountable to those wonderful people who gave us all that money and make sure we do what we said we were going to do. I honestly say that as a president, that is my goal. Do what you said you're going to do. So there were 3 goals. It was safety, security, accessibility. It was update the whole classroom, Paul's whole area, teaching, learning, so that it's upgraded. And then leveraging some of that money to build a new health sciences building, because that dental facility was in bad shape on campus. They moved it downtown. I don't know if you know that, but the dental clinic is downtown in a rented facility now. So it isn't even on the campus, if you think of that. So definitely workforce training and career and technical ed. So 3 goals: safety, security, accessibility, workforce training, and then updating our classroom and learning spaces. And number 1 goal, though, I got to tell you, of all that, has to be safety and security and accessibility, because it has to be. And that's everything from putting locks so that, God, you hate talking about this, but, we have to protect ourselves from active shooters. We have to protect ourselves from cybersecurity, cybercrime, I guess you'd say. Mm-hmm. You've got to protect ourselves from crime in general. So, we need cameras, we need bright lights, we need curbs that aren't broken for wheelchairs to get up. That, to me, if we can get that, and even having a warm building with a roof that isn't leaking, so your HVAC systems, and then the one that was new to me when I came out here was protecting yourselves against the earthquakes, so seismic retrofitting. So that is really big. That's a big chunk of money.
I wanted to expand on something Marge said too, Chandler, if I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things when we look at I'm going to beat this drum. I've been a buddy of mine here, we've been beating every day. I mean, really, we're trying to think of, I look at it from the instructional side. My role here is a chief instructional officer, and really anything that interacts with students is something that I have some leadership responsibilities in. But we really want to invest in the student experience, right? We want to invest these money in creating value for students. By that, I mean making sure that the programs that we're offering are delivering those skills that students will need to be able to get good paying jobs or to transfer to institutions that they need to transfer to. So that value piece is really, really important, that we can show and we can invest in our programs and that they are of value for students to take. And the last thing I think that a lot of this allows us to do is to be more convenient for students. We're investing a lot in technology that will provide really multiple ways for students to be able to interact in a learning environment, right? Whether that's through enhanced technology for distance education, or the ability to be able to access more easily Wi-Fi and things like that. We're really looking at that. So if I could really, I know how I say this, Mark's probably getting tired of hearing me say this, but it really is it's about convenience, it's about value, it's about the student experience, and investing in that so that we feel like we've been good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars that they're giving us, and that students that come and work with us here are going to walk away with a skill set that really provides them some upward mobility.
Yeah.
So what's your anticipation? I know this is also a hard question. Like, how long do you think it would take to implement some of these things that you'd like to do?
So from the bond money, I think within the next 5 years, you're going to see the college transformed.
Okay.
Honest answer. It's always slowest getting started because we had a lot of architects that were here. We had a lot of planners at the beginning before the bond even went out. But then you have to make that come to life. So, and then the other thing was that accountability piece. The board had to vote on and approve a community committee that would be an oversight committee to, again, make sure we were accountable to the taxpayers. So all that had to happen. Then these things called, requests for proposals, RFPs, have to go out. And I'm not an expert in this, but it's like you have to have one for design, then for your architect, and then finally your construction company. So that's all going on. Small projects are just happening. The smaller projects, I think over the summer they finished the one of the big parking lots. They redid all that. Mm-hmm. They will there'll be a constant renewal of roofs. And then seismic retrofit, we're also using grant money from the state, I think about $2 million at a shot. So all of this is constant, but I honestly think within 5 years, you'll be able to see and feel all of the changes up front while the rest of them get finished.
Okay.
I dropped a link in the chat there just to kind of highlight some of the high-level bond projects that we're going to be working on. But yeah, I think that there'll be a rollout of over. It's going to be a flurry of activity, I would say, over the next 4 or 5 years. And I think Marge is right. I think if you walk on this campus 5 years from now, it's going to look and I hope feel very different.
Yeah, because I think it's going to affect the classroom, don't you, Paul?
I do, yeah.
A lot of money is getting invested right now in the tech piece.
Yep.
Students are going to know the difference.
Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly, yeah.
Okay. What do you see needs the most help around campus, like the most immediate attention?
Oh, the safety. The safety is what keeps me and Paul up at night, knowing that these roofs are going to be all replaced, knowing that you walk into a classroom in the fall and there's going to be a heater that works. I'm talking at basic level, or this summer, air conditioning that works. Down in Florence, it was gone, right? The HVAC system was just about a dead soldier. I mean, they had to, they were using box fans, I think, to cool them. I mean, it was that scary. And locks. I mean, we have so many crises going on in the world now, but about 2 years ago, it was all about the active shooters. That was all over the news. Mm-hmm. I don't think that scare's gone away. I think we've just moved on to other things to worry about. But I worry, I want to get those locks all replaced. I want to get the lights brighter and bigger on campus. So safety and security, number one.
Yeah, I think that, and certainly and there's a lot of, the bond will certainly help with that. I think, even larger, and this is certainly part of it, is thinking about what is the learning environment like here, the working and learning environment like here on campus. And feeling safe is really important, obviously, for having a good, positive learning environment. But I also think that the bond aside, some of the areas where we're working, and I hope we make some progress, is making this environment be not only safe from that physical sense, but feel welcoming, right? And that's not just what it looks like. Those aren't physical things, right? Those are people. That's right. How do we interact with students? How do we make them feel like they belong here? How do we treat our colleagues? I mean, all of these are things that I think, and more important now from a social perspective than probably ever before, that we really look at these things. And Lane's always been really good. I've been proud of one of the things that drew me to Lane was that they always recognized, I think, even though there's not a lot of diversity here in culture, I think the people at the college here did recognize that need for unique cultural experiences for students, right? And to recognize that students come from different cultural experiences, and to feel welcome here, we have to try to create a space that at least appreciates that, right? If we can't mimic that somehow. So I really hope we make some, as we come back on campus, that's an area, and we've got a lot of initiatives, not only with the bond, but with some other grants that we've gotten to do just that, to create that kind of holistic, nurturing, welcoming environment for students, and to truly support students in their journey here. So I think it's going to be very. I think I'm really hopeful that a few years from now, we'll be able to look back and have a great sense of pride about campus transformation in physical spaces, but also in those kind of more humanitarian kind of spaces, and the way we interact with students, both in student fairs and financial aid and things like that, but just general sense of how we respect each other.
Yeah, and building on what Paul just said too, Chandler, COVID has taught us a lot of lessons.
That's right.
And that is, we can no longer be bound to time and place teaching. So that means technology has never been more important. Mm-hmm. And the bond money, oh my gosh, it's couldn't have come at a better time, because we can now look at more of a hybrid model. And again, this is Paul's area of expertise, to offer teaching and learning so that we're not just time and place bound. It would be much more equitable, because if you're a working parent and you need to have some things online, but you still want to come in, you can have a combination. And then look at all of the professions we teach. You can now use simulations and simulation labs to learn a lot of these skills, but they were unaffordable before. Now, this is the money that's going to help us use simulations, whether it's manufacturing, healthcare, but big price tags. So we're kind of hoping that we could apply this money across the major career and technical professions, so that we're right. We're there. We're cutting edge for their students.
Okay. The next question I was going to ask, I feel like you already answered it. So what I'm curious is if either you have a statement that you would like to give to the students.
I actually wrote something out. Paul, you want to go first?
I didn't write anything out, but I'll just say, I do get to speak directly to students a lot, so I really enjoy that. But I think that at this point in time, if I could give a statement to students, would simply be, let us help you. We are here to help you. Let us help you. Let us be part of the solution. Oftentimes we as students, and I remember myself as a student, you feel you don't ask things early enough, right? And you don't seek help soon enough, and you don't let us know where we're succeeding and where we're failing. So I that's my statement is, be honest, open, let us try to help you, tell us where we're succeeding, tell us where we're failing, and let us, help be part of the solution.
Okay.
I agree. I talk, as I said, both Paul and I talk a lot to students, and we're a little concerned that they're not feeling very good right now. They're not, and we understand that. We totally do. And my message is really, things are going to be better. Absolutely. They will get better. They are pretty bad right now. Paul and I are not naive. We know that, but it is going to get better. The vaccine is out there, and we have to be optimistic. Every generation has dealt with their own crises. When I was a kid, it was Vietnam. I thought the world was coming to an end. I still remember it. And there was a great racial divide. There was an energy crisis, and then there was Watergate. So, we hit pretty much all the boxes back then. And yet you pushed on. You kept pushing on. We those of us that went on to get education, we figured out we have to be part of the solutions to all of these things. The problem is, not the problem, the challenge right now is we have to make sure we know it's not going to go backwards. We can't let it go back to where it was. We're too smart for that. It has to get better. We dealt with infectious diseases. We dealt with climate change. We dealt with hate crimes and racial discrimination, and a very polarized political system all in 1 year. And everything came to a head. And it wasn't because it happened this year. It's because it all came to a head. And I think that's where education and all of us have to stand up to be a part of the change. I think we have a wake-up call. We can't just ignore these problems. And that's where people like Paul and myself, that's why we get up in the morning and we do these 12 hours a day of Zooms, because we understand we can make it better, but we have to help give the education and the training so that we can all learn to adapt and change and be a part of making this place better. We talked a lot about the bond. 9 to 5, we're not going back to a 9 to 5 college. We're not going back to a big cement college anymore. I think that there's going to be a change. We're going to have a much more interactive education in the future. I think we're going to have more recognition of multiple learning styles. We're going to have a combination of teaching and learning, that we're going to embrace change. We cannot go backwards. So I think the future's here. And my message overwhelmingly is we have to stay optimistic and feel responsible to be a part of the change that's going to be in higher ed. So that's where I want to leave the students, to be optimistic and work with us. And we really want to help them to have a better future.